Welcome to Visual Scale Modelling. This is part 6 of Airfix's North American B-25C Mitchell. Scale is 172. So in part 1 of 5, the build carried on quite well. In part 6, I'm placing the finishing touches to the build, so varnishing and the decals. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. So it's time for the varnishes, and it's just a normal coat of varnish I'm putting on. I'll start with the underside first. And I'm going to be using Pledge Clear Coat polish or varnish. You can buy that from all the major supermarkets, Amazon and things like that. It's acrylic polish for floor coverings, but it works just as well for acrylic models as well. And it's a lot cheaper than buying normal varnishes. And like with the painting, I'll try and put the varnish on where the airflow would be going over the aircraft to try and keep everything in line. Because I'm using a brush, there is always a tiny amount of brush strokes. Generally, it depends on good jar. It might not be seen by naked eye by glancing at it, but if you really study it, you may see the odd one or two brush stroke. Now, I don't believe I've got an A on this one, but it's still wise just to paint in your paint or varnishes and the way the air would flow over the model that you're building. It's time for the decals, and as you can see, I'm fast forwarding this process like I normally do. As the solution, I'm using micro set, and how I place these on is quite simple. I soak the decal in warm water, and once it starts coming away from the backing sheet, I apply a bit of decal set onto the model surface, place the decals on, either using a toothpick or a brush, and then going over the decal with another coat of clear set, micro set. The micro set just helps it blend into the model, but there's not that many decals to go on in this kit, which is good, because that's one of the bits I hate about modelling, is putting the decals on. As I was putting them on, this is where I noticed my mistake. The real wheel here is not a real wheel, it should be on the front, where I'm just pointing to. I have no idea what I was thinking. When I discovered it as I was putting the decals on, I just burst out laughing. How the hell could I make a mistake like that? But it did, and it'll have to be sorted out. Now, it's actually easy to sort out. First of all, I'll just break it from the rear part of the craft. Now, I did lose a little bit of the strut with the wheel there, but that's to be expected. So I'll just prising it away, and you'll see the bottom there, just a little bit messy now, and that'll be trimmed down and sand down once I get everything in place. So I'll take the wheel and measure it up to where it should go. Now, and I'm doing this because obviously I filled in the housing area where this strut was meant to be. If you watched the other videos, you know I put some sprue glue into there to fill up the hole. So anyway, it's lucky I did, because as I said, sprue glue acts like a plastic, so it's easy to drill into and sort out. So I'll just drill in, make a couple of pilot holes. Unfortunately, my hand's going to get in the way here. You won't actually see the holes as such. But once the holes are made, I'm just putting my knife in and twisting it to open them up. So that's the first one opened up, and this is where I'll hold the main strut. So regarding the strut, I'm going to have to replace the bit that's been left anchored inside. So I've just got a cocktail stick here, and I'm just going to cut it a length off, and then I shall glue it to the plastic strut using some super glue. Now, I prefer holding this in a couple of locking tweezers and just marrying it up, then letting it sit until it's dry. I'm using my normal tweezers to add a little bit of height if it's not 100%. It's just a nice little cheap way to get everything level and secured. So there you can see it there. It's still drying. I'll wait until it's completely dry before I paint it. So while that's drying, I've cleaned up the back area, and I'm going to put on the actual part that needs to be put on, which I missed on the instructions. And it's just a little hump of plastic, like a skid pad, that goes on the back. And now I'm using Humbrol 56 aluminium to paint the strut. before placing it in. Now I waited a few minutes until it dried, obviously, before I got to this stage. So what I'm doing now that I've opened up the hole and drawn it down the line, as you can see there on the screen, I'm going to be taking some sprue glue and filling that hole back in. That's not to undo the work I've just done by opening up the hole just to close it up again. What I'm doing is, once the sprue glue's in and I'm satisfied that it's level enough, I will then put in the part. And I'll just level it off with my cocktail stick, as you can see there. Just taking off any excess and getting it nice and flush to the fuselage. This part's essential if you're not going to be giving yourself a few headaches once everything's in, because there'll be a lot of sanding and things like that, and it will be a nightmare. So now it's in place, all I'm doing is pushing in the strut into the new area, and that will bond it just like normal cement will do, and it will just keep it in place there. And that's it really. Then I'll just need repainting the area that it's bonded to. So it makes the repainting process fairly straightforward as well. You can just drill in little holes and try and put a bit of cement in or super glue or something like that to hold it. But this way, with the sprue glue acting as the bonding agent, and levels itself off as you put the thing in, so squeeze it in, and it's going to be absolutely solid once it's all dried, which this is. Obviously, do not paint until it's dry. So now that everything is where it should be and back on track, it's time just to mark in the panel lines. And if you watch my previous videos, you'll know I prefer to do this with pencil. I prefer the graphite because I like how it runs when I put the last coat of varnish on. It acts as a weathering agent and also marks out my panel lines. A lot of people prefer washes and things like that. It's just the way I do it. There's no right or wrong way. It's whatever your preference is. And the nice thing about the pencil markings is you can go as dark or as light as you want to. If you do make a mistake, just dab it with a little bit of water and rub it off and it'll be fine. You may need a bit of cleaning up if you don't want any streaking effect, but it will all lift off. So now I'm using Tamiya's Weathering Master Series B, and I'm using the suit component, that's the one in the middle, to put in the air track marks. And I'm using a brush sharpener for this. That's a brush with a soft foam tip or rubber tip that gives you a nice chiseled flat edge. And like the pencil, this can be dampened down and blended in if you've put on too much. And just with the pencil, you can put as much on as you want. You can have a little like you better not. Now, again, this can be washed off with a bit of cloth, or I just use my finger sometimes. Depending on what sort of blend you're looking at, and you can blend it in how you want it. I like taking it and laying it over the decal, just so that the decal looks more blended in. The Microsoft does that as well, of course, but this just blends it even more in. But as I say, you can use the tip of your finger, moisten it, or use a cloth, and you can just brush it all in and blend it how you would actually like your model to look. And once the weathering's on, all I'm doing now is putting on the final coat of varnish. So it's like the clear pledge varnish. I'm using much more all over it to give it its final look. And all that's left to do is put on the props, and these just simply push on to the engine. You can use glue if you wish. I didn't, I just pushed them on. They are tight enough to hold on. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds? If you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, that way you'll be kept up to date, not only with this build, but all my builds in the future as well, of course. Hit that like button, don't be afraid to leave a comment, and of course you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching, bye bye.